What's up, my brothers? We have a requested video, a sponsored video today from a gentleman who is a world traveler and he's thinking about having kids and wants some feedback on his idea and situation. Tactical Soap Company, channel sponsor, guys. There's a link pinned in the description and at the top comment for 10% off if you check out with coupon code Cooper. Fair amount of use soap, stuff works. You're showering anyway, might as well use the stuff that supports the creation of the content on my channel. Thank you again for your support, guys. All right, this guy is interesting fella. I like this request. He's put some thought into it. Many thanks, he says, for what I'm creating. Thank you, my brother. I'm going to be blunt, blurt out the dilemma. Looking forward to your thoughts. Okay, so he's 37, usually lives in Canada, although he's been away for most of 2018. Makes a decent living, and it would only get better in the following years. Because of my business, I can pretty much live anywhere in the world for long periods of time. Yes! Location independent income. That's what I'm talking about. Ideally recurring. You didn't mention recurring, but I hope it's recurring or subscription based. I've never had much trouble attracting women, often much younger ones. We've had huge problems finding for long-term relationships to have kids is what his problem is. I completely agree with you about women in marriage in the Western world. That's why I don't pay much attention to women in Canada anymore, but I still have a strong desire to at least have children, so more than one. Because of you, I'm currently reading Rollo's book and I'm slowly getting past the rage. Good, this is helping, but I'm unsure how to proceed in the future. My main problem is loneliness and having children. Build a community is the first thing I'm going to say about loneliness. Whether it's with people that you travel with or in locations that you travel to, but build a community of like-minded men around you. That will solve that. It's okay to be alone. Being alone is different from being lonely. I've said this before. Just remember that. I don't know. Now, again, when people think that having kids will solve their problems, I question that a lot because I think that you should be content and happy by yourself. I think that kids, like women, should complement your life and not be the entire focus of it. You're putting a lot of focus on the passing down the genetic legacy of who you are, which is cool. I get it. Been there, done it. But I don't think you're actually using, that brain up there as much as you might be thinking that you are, because it almost seems like you're relying on this for the completion of who you are, the self-actualization, the top part of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We'll carry on though. We'll talk about that in a little bit more. He's introverted. Try reading that properly, Rich. Always spent a lot of time on his own, but often goes to extremes and not healthy. Correct. Yeah, you don't want to get into a scenario where it's unhealthy. Develop hobbies and habits where you're going, where you're traveling to. If you like scuba diving, then find people around that community that do that you can hang out with outside of scuba diving. Whatever it is that you're into, build that tribe, build that community. I've been with plenty of women, but I'm generally bored with them. I've heard that story so many times from guys. They're usually in the 6-7 range. I would like to be more attractive, be with more attractive women, at least in the 8 range. A lot of people like to take me to task and say, but Rich, guys are hypergamous too. No, they're not. Women are beauty objects to men, and men are success objects to women. Whenever you hear these requests coming from dudes, they're always talking about the attraction levels they have to the women that are in their lives. I'm not talking about anything else aside from the attraction level. The socioeconomic part comes into play, but it's not as prominent as the notion of beauty. Anyway, more consistently, but he's extremely critical of myself and feels he's not good enough for them, even though I do attract them by my physical attributes alone. You don't talk much about what you look like. It would be cool if you guys told me a little bit more about yourself, maybe link your Facebook page or something like that. I wouldn't share it, but at least it would give me some frame as to who you are, what you're about. I spent the last 2 months in a fairly poor Central Asian country. Okay, the women there are beautiful and I enjoy a higher standard. That's like shooting fish in a barrel, right? When you show up in a poor country and your SMV is considerably higher, which I think you talk about here, I also enjoy a higher SMV because I probably make 15 times the average monthly salary than most men. There you go. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. You end up with this overinflated ego as far as what your access roles are and things like that, right? Additionally, the local guys have a reputation for not treating women very well. I've always said, it's a British saying, you've got to be mean to keep them keen. Now, there's another side to that coin where women lie about this as well. They'll say, oh, but white boy, I like you because the local guys are not very nice to us. I think that translation probably means is the local guys don't make as much money as you do, and their skin's not as white as yours because they've got that predisposition for those things, right? Hypergamy. Understand that, which I think you're getting. I speak the local language, so communication is not an obstacle. That's good. The women in this country are seemingly more traditional than the West. Usually, if you're in a poor, more patriarchal country, they will be, my friend. Some still preserve their virginity until marriage. Okay, well, maybe that's what they're saying. Maybe that's what they're doing. I don't know. Although this is quickly changing. Also, just because the country is poor does not mean that I've dated only poor girls. I've often been with women in a higher middle class as well, or well-off families. I agree with you. It's probably not a good idea to marry someone in a much lower socioeconomic background. Good. Well, marriage is not a good idea, period. But, okay, let's wrap this up. I'm thinking of going back to this country and spinning some plates and maybe having a child without getting married. I will definitely check the local marriage laws before doing this. Yes, dude is thinking. Told you guys before. Check with a family lawyer where you're planning on doing this crazy shit. I know, I keep saying it's crazy because it is, but make sure you check with a family lawyer if you're going to go down that road. Definitely would not bring a local girl back to Canada. Smart choice, or maybe once the kid is at university age. So you went from children to kid. Are you having 1, 2, 3? What's the plan? I think you should get clear on that. I might live here or maybe go to European or Latin America in the meantime. I may live here or maybe go to Europe, Latin America. Okay. What I like about the local women is they're feminine, have more respect for men, but the downside, as I've noticed so far, is that it's more difficult to have an intellectual conversation with them. History, society, culture. You're not going to have an intellectual conversation with women in general. You know, they talk more about events and people. Guys get into different aspects, like you're talking history, society, and, stuff like that. Although you could find an academic in a university or school. The problem with those is they're slowly getting, infiltrated by feminist ideology, the toxic, methods of it anyway. So I would probably have to disregard this aspect being going forward. Such a relationship would force me to become a better leader and head of the family. Something which still continues with difficulty because of my years in Canada, growing up far away from my father. Okay. I wonder about your connection with masculinity and the male ego. I'm not sure what happened with your dad. What do you think? Your thoughts are much appreciated. All right, here's my thoughts. Marriage is dumb. We'll start with that. Let's come back to this book because I just did another video for another guy that screwed up his life. Read this, read it again, read it 3 times, 4 times if you have to. Get clarity on the vetting process for women. If you insist on getting married and reproducing, that's fine. It's your call. It's your risk. But understand what you're getting into so you do it with your eyes wide open. There's a copy of this book, by the way, pinned in the description of this video. There's a link to it. Grab it there. Okay? The Asian country thing. Now, the problem with that is if you marry into a poorer country and their family, and I know you're saying that you're dating horizontally, it sounds like you're not necessarily dating down, you're dating horizontally and some better off families. That's a good idea. Don't do it down because what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up not only taking care of her, but taking care of her family. Also, there's cultural issues with that too. They don't want their daughter to marry a white dude. I mean, I'm assuming that you're white because you said that you're from Canada. You didn't say that you had any issues with language. I don't know. It's hard to decide, hard to decipher. So let's just set that aside, for the time being. If you get into a well-off family in an Asian country, they're never going to let you in. They're never going to view you as part of their cultural tribe. They'll be probably nice to you if you marry their daughter and you have some connection. But I've seen this time and time again where some guy will, get married to an Asian chick from a well-off family, and he's like a chiropractor or something like that, or a physical therapist, or he might have like a doctor designation here for something like dentistry, for example, and they make fun of him like, you're not a real doctor. A real doctor is brain surgery sort of thing. So it's never good enough. That's what I've heard time and time again. Time and time again when it comes to, the Asian families and the Asian culture. So that's on you. I don't know, man. I think that the introversion part probably needs to be dealt with. You want to be content with yourself. You don't want to go to a toxic place where you think that you need to scatter seed and raise child to be complete. Because I think you're going to find that the awakening that you get is quite a bit different than your expectation. They're not going to line up. they really won't. You're going to find there's going to be a lot of surprises, and even if you have your expectations clarified, you're still going to have surprises when it comes to marrying outside of your culture and having a kid in that country. That being said, if you're going to do it there. Do it in their country. Make sure you do it in a place where family law is friendly to the father. So find out what the local laws say about raising kids there, and develop your own tribe, your own network there. I think it's incredibly important that if you're going to be an expat and you're going to find somewhere to live and set up shop, you've got a network, friends, you've got common interests with friends. You can do things with them. They're at the same intellectual level, financial level, socioeconomic level. All those things are incredibly important so that you're not relying on her or a child to fulfill you. Again, I think, Rollo talked about it in his first book, how women should be a complement to your life, not the focus. I think the same thing with children. They shouldn't be the entire focus of your life. And the minute that something is the focus of your life, it owns you. And anytime anything owns you, you become its bitch. You become the plow horse at some point if you're not attentive to the way that you're operating and navigating the world. Does that make sense? Guys, leave a comment below. I have not traveled the world in Asia and all these places, so these are all conversations that are all based on my experiences and my readings. I'm sure there's somebody out there in the community that's kind of lived this or knows somebody else, so put a comment below. Let this guy know what you think. If you have some valuable feedback, you think you get some 411 on, some information, give it to him. Let him know what the story is. If you want to make a request for a video like this, visit entrepreneursandcars.com/request. Again, it's pinned in the description below, and you can make a request. It helps me create the content on the channel. And that's it. Give the video a thumbs up. Oh, I have to remind you, apparently YouTube keeps telling me to remind you guys to subscribe and hit the notification bell. You don't do that, you probably won't get notified of new videos. Apparently subscribing is just not enough anymore. You have to hit that bell. Over by this subscription button, by the way, there's a new join button. It's been there for a couple months. I haven't mentioned it that much, but we're building most of the live broadcasts around that community area. So if you want to engage in things like Before the Train Wreck or any live broadcasts, I do one-on-one with people. That also helps as well. It's like $4.99 a month. It's an easy way to help contribute. See you guys in the next video. Peace.